Superheroes are the good guys, but they are human, and every human has a dark side. Not trying to get too deep with you all, but some superheroes let the dark side come out and betray everybody. And a great example of that would be Kid Marvelman. Now, some of you may be aware of Marvelman, some of you may not. Essentially, he's an old superhero who is roughly the British equivalent of Captain Marvel, aka Shazam from the DC universe. Michael Moran had the ability to transform into a superpowered hero by saying the word Marvelman. Now, for a while, some legal issues made it Miracle Man, but you get the point. Like Billy Batson, Moran had a sidekick, Johnny Bates, who by saying his magic word transformed into Kid Marvelman. These two and their whole super family, including Marvel Woman, were sidelined for almost like 20 years after a big, long comic book run, with the heroes resurfacing in 1982 under Alan Moore. As part of that revival, Marvelman and Kid Marvelman were part of a secret government program and were attacked with a nuke. Now, they both survived, but Marvelman now had no memory of his superhero alter ego. Kid Marvelman, on the other hand, believed he was the only survivor and decided never to return to his child form ever again, growing into a superpowered adult. This allowed him to grow his powers enormously, but his disillusionment at being alone in the world and the power he now had turned him into a complete psychopath. Kid Marvelman went on a rampage, attacking and destroying almost the whole of London City and wiping out most of the population, and he never got to redeem himself because he was defeated and completely wiped out by his former mentor for being too dangerous to be kept alive. Switching over to DC Comics here though, with another Marvel, funnily enough, Mary Marvel has long been considered one of DC Comics' most wholesome characters, being one of the best members of the DC's Shazam family. But after losing her powers in the trials of Shazam, Mary later encountered Black Adam. At this point in time, Black Adam was dealing with his wife's passing, and after realizing that Mary was now powerless, Black Adam decided to imbue her with a portion of his own power, transforming her into a dark, angry version of her former self. Now, going by the name Black Mary, Mary eventually became addicted to dark magic and ended up entangled in the schemes of Darkseid and his evil minion Desaad. Black Adam basically took Shazam's best family member and the most wholesome person around and corrupted her into evil. But sticking with DC here for possibly one of the most infamous betrayals in comics ever. The Judas Contract is definitely the most popular and definitive new Teen Titans story to date, and it includes a gutting betrayal that I would be remiss to not talk about. In New Teen Titans number 26, we are introduced to Tara Markov, a young girl who joined the team. Now, it turns out that Tara had actually infiltrated the team following orders from none other than their nemesis, Deathstroke the Terminator. Tara, being brainwashed, dismantled the team from the inside, and it completely wrecked the Titans. She and Deathstroke were eventually foiled by intervention from Deathstroke's own son, Jericho, and Dick Grayson in his first outing as Nightwing, with Tara passing away at the story's conclusion, having brought down a building around herself in a blind rampage. The Titans still honor her with a statue and with the name being passed on to other heroes, but goodness gracious, was this story fantastic, and the betrayal deep and extremely rooted. For most of Image Comics' Invincible series though, the super genius known as Robot had been a very helpful ally to Invincible and the world at large, and even when he kind of flips to become the final antagonist of the comic, spoiler alert, he still seems to be just trying to help the entire world. But it's always that damn freedom versus security trope. Robot had an overarching plan that he was slowly working towards. All of his actions were in service of his ultimate goal. He got himself a new cloned body, got together with Monster Girl, went off-world with her, overthrew an entire empire and began ruling it, and when he came back is when things went south. He eventually took over the Earth using his robotic drones to do multiple different things at the same time, talking to the Viltrumites, fighting the Earth's superheroes, and meeting with the President, all for the greater good of the Earth and the human species. He was basically trying to create a utopian society. He convinces a lot of people that he is in the right too, but he also does horrible things like crippling Adam Eve, betraying Monster Girl, and manipulating a hell of a lot of people. But switching back to DC Comics, when the Flashpoint universe was created, it gave us a lot of cool and interesting changes to a lot of our favorite DC characters. Possibly one of the most interesting ones was Batman, who in this universe is actually Thomas Wayne, with Bruce Wayne losing his life instead all those years ago, and Martha Wayne actually becoming the Joker. It's twisted and cool, and this Batman has a totally different moral code, being totally fine with bringing criminals to the afterlife, unlike the main universe Bruce Wayne, who refuses to take a life, mostly. Either way, when Thomas Wayne Batman finds out mainline Bruce Wayne becomes the Batman, he deems this unacceptable and tries to change his son's ways. But instead of, I don't know, being a good father, he teams up with Bane to break Bruce Wayne down. Things got way out of hand in the City of Bane event, which actually eventually ended up with Thomas killing Alfred Pennyworth, which broke everyone. He very clearly regretted his actions, but I don't know, man, you really ain't coming back from that one, for anybody. Finally, a time for Marvel Comics. Not just characters who use Marvel in their name. Warren Worthington III was one of the original 5 X-Men, going by the superhero name Angel because of his huge and amazing, beautiful wings that allowed him to fly. But when he moved to the X-Force team, things went a little downhill. Thanks to a crossover event called the Mutant Massacre, Warren's wings were mutilated by the mutant Harpoon. Each wing was impaled, causing them to become infected and eventually even amputated. Warren was absolutely devastated, and at his weakest moment, the incredibly powerful villain Apocalypse showed up to kinda save the day. Apocalypse offered to restore Warren's wings on the condition that Angel would now serve as his horseman death. Warren, being completely lost, agreed, and he became Archangel, the lead horseman. Now, knowing all their tactics and all their weaknesses, Archangel beat all of the X-Men in battle way too easily. Eventually, fellow mutant Iceman helped him to recover his heroic side again, but this change endured, and the Archangel persona has been a huge part of Warren's character ever since, with him battling with his darker persona and eventually learning how to control and harness it. Now, back to DC Comics and Black Adam. Black Adam has 2 things he seems to be really good at: taking people's lives and manipulating people. We already talked about Mary Marvel, but when Black Adam joined up with the Justice Society after betraying the Injustice Society, he and the other heavy hitter from the team, Atom Smasher, started out as pretty antagonistic towards each other. Atom Smasher did not trust Black Adam. Rightfully so, and Adam thought that Atom Smasher was childish and weak. However, after working together to escape the supervillain gambling establishment, the House, they gained a new kind of respect for each other. After Adam found out that Atom Smasher had taken the life of Extant to save his own mother, he saw him as a kind of kindred spirit, a fellow life taker. How quaint. Teth Adams started pushing Atom Smasher into becoming a killer just like himself, trying to convince the young hero that that was how heroes should act. He manipulated Atom Smasher, and it worked really well as Smasher left the Justice Society to join up with Black Adam. And here we are, back at Marvel again. The ninja clan known as the Hand has had many run-ins with different heroes over the years, but none of those heroes have had as much interaction with the shadowy group of ninjas as Daredevil. His mentor Stick and his sometimes girlfriend Elektra have history with the clan, and he's never been particularly fond of them. But when he seemed to secure control over the clan, he decided to put their skills to good use. He moved them to Hell's Kitchen and set up a headquarters and prison known as Shadowland. He changed the Hand into what he thought was a force for good, but as his time with the Hand went on, he seemed to be the one who was changing, becoming more and more aggressive and drastic with his methods of crime fighting. He started to butt heads with other heroes and even became responsible for the passing of his adversary, Bullseye. It turns out that this brutal new Daredevil was actually being possessed by an ancient demon called the Beast, who is the source of the Hand's mystical powers and their pretty dubious ways. Daredevil was secretly manipulated by a small faction of the Hand that worshipped the Beast, called the Snake Root, into undergoing the Ritual of the Black Flower. Basically, the culmination of that ritual came when Daredevil took the life of Bullseye. This completed the ritual and allowed the Beast to fully possess him and corrupt the people of Hell's Kitchen until Iron Fist exorcised the demon from Matt Murdock. Now, thanks to the MCU, many fans now see the insectoid alien known as Miek as a fun, little, cute grub creature who sometimes gets a robotic body with a bunch of swords. That's cool, but comic book Miek? Completely different character. I mean, for starters, he actually does something for the story. But After Hulk landed on Sakaar after being banished by the Illuminati, he befriends Miek alongside the other Warbound. Now, having Hulk around inspired Miek to break out of his shell. The problem came when Miek saw the Hulk becoming peaceful. This was just unacceptable for Miek, and he wanted to bring his green scar back. So what does he do? Instead of telling the Hulk that his Earth ship was sabotaged by rebels on the planet Sakaar, Miek just lets it explode, wiping Hulk's wife off the face of the planet while also decimating Sakaar, the Hulk's new home. Miek lets the blame be pinned on the Illuminati back on Earth, and this brought the green scar back. But even more than that, it brought World War Hulk, where the Hulk literally wipes the floor with almost all the superheroes and even some of the villains, and then just when that conflict is about to end, Miek just can't handle it and he causes the passing of Rick Jones, Banner's closest friend, and that causes the near destruction of the entire Earth. And finally, in for our last spot today, we're going to the Marvel's Ultimate Universe. Shortly after Iron Man joined the S.H.I.E.L.D.-sponsored Ultimates team, he and Natalia Romanova, the Black Widow, struck up their relationship, and it went so far that the two eventually got engaged, with Tony even giving Black Widow her own nanite-controlled suit of armor, which did look actually very cool, just so you know. But the happy couple did not last too long, as it turned out that Natalia was actually a traitor working for the Liberators, a group of heroes from around the globe who were opposed to the amount of power held by the United States thanks to S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Ultimates. After it was revealed that she was a traitor, she organized the assassination of her longtime Black Ops partner Hawkeye's entire family, even personally taking out his son Callum. Then she turned on Tony Stark and she managed to end the life of his longtime butler and close friend, Jarvis. So, needless to say, it didn't feel so bad when Tony used the nanites inside of Natalia's body, the ones used to control that fancy new armor, to paralyze her and steal information from her brain about the Liberators and her entire betrayal. He then knocks her unconscious with a wine bottle, giving her brain damage. Her story finally fully came to a close when Clint Barton puts an arrow between her eyes in Ultimates 2's final chapter, getting his revenge on this super traitorous Black Widow. And that is all we got. Thank you guys so much for watching and making it to the end of the video on Top 10 Nerd. Big round of applause for you. My name is Adam Andrews. I will catch you all on the flippy flop, and even if I don't, stay safe and peace out, you nerds.